sun beat down on cracked asphalt. Weeds sprouted through fissures, reaching for the light. The old bus station stood deserted, a relic of a forgotten era. Paint peeled from its walls like sunburnt skin. Dusty windows stared out blankly, reflecting the cloudless sky. A faint smell of gasoline lingered, a ghost of its bustling past. Once this place pulsed with life, a crossroads of journeys and destinations. Now only silence reigned. The ticket booth gathered dust, its shelves bare except for a tattered timetable. Benches, worn smooth by countless travelers, sat empty, waiting for passengers who would never come. As dusk crept in, shadows stretched like grasping claws. The air, still and heavy moments before, turned cold. The familiar sounds of the day bird song, the rustle of leaves, faded into an unsettling quiet. The bus station, bathed in the warm hues of the setting sun, transformed into something different. The once familiar building now loomed, a silhouette against the dying light, holding its breath and its secrets close. The old bus station had always been a place of hushed whispers, a magnet for local legends. Stories traded in hushed tones over flickering campfires, tales of strange occurrences, unexplained noises, shadows moving in the night. Most dismissed them as folklore, the ramblings of imaginative minds. But not everyone. Some knew better. One such tale spoke of a tragic accident years ago. A bus, filled with passengers, lost in a raging storm, never reached its destination. Locals claimed the station was haunted by those lost souls, forever searching for their final stop. Their cries, carried on the wind, a chilling symphony on stormy nights. Old newspaper clippings, yellowed with age, hinted at a darker history. Faces stared out from faded photographs, their eyes filled with an unsettling emptiness. Each clipping a piece of a puzzle, hinting at a truth too terrible to comprehend. Yet standing there as darkness enveloped the station, it was hard to shake off the feeling of unseen eyes watching. The old man at the diner had warned me. "Don't go near that place after dark, son," he'd said, his voice rough as gravel. "Not if you know what's good for you." But I was young, foolish, drawn to the mystery like a moth to a flame. I craved the thrill of the unknown, the adrenaline rush of fear. I was a night watchman tasked with guarding this forgotten relic. A simple enough job, or so I thought. Armed with a flashlight and a thermos of coffee, I settled into the dusty ticket booth. The silence was my only companion, broken only by the occasional creak of the old building. The hours crawled by, each tick of the clock amplifying the silence. I tried to distract myself, reading the tattered timetable, imagining the lives that had passed through this very spot. Outside, the wind picked up, howling like a banshee. Rain lashed against the windows, blurring the outside world into an indistinguishable mass. And then, I heard it. The humming grew steadily, morphing into a rhythmic thumping. It seemed to emanate from the depths of the station, from the very bowels of the earth. My pulse quickened. I gripped the flashlight tighter, its cold metal a comfort in the growing darkness. Shadows danced at the edge of my vision, twisting, turning, taking on grotesque shapes. My heart hammered in my chest, a frantic drumbeat against the symphony of the storm. I told myself it was just the wind, playing tricks on my eyes. But deep down, a primal fear took root. A sudden gust of wind rattled the windows, and I jumped, my flashlight beam dancing wildly across the room. The thumping grew louder, insistent, accompanied now by a faint, metallic screech. It was the sound of a bus engine, straining, struggling. The air grew heavy, thick with the smell of damp earth and something else. Something unfamiliar and vaguely metallic. Something was wrong, terribly wrong. I rose to my feet, every nerve ending on high alert. The flashlight beam cut through the darkness, revealing nothing but empty benches and swirling dust motes. Still the sound grew louder, closer. The engine, the screeching brakes, the unmistakable hiss of compressed air. And then, through the rain-streaked windows, I saw it. A pair of headlights glowing eerily in the darkness, cutting through the downpour. They were moving slowly, cautiously, as if approaching a crime scene. My blood ran cold. There shouldn't have been anyone out here, not in this weather. The bus, ancient and rusted, pulled into the station with a groan. Its headlights flickered, casting long, distorted shadows that danced across the waiting area. The engine sputtered and died, plunging the station back into an eerie silence punctuated only by the howling wind. This was no ordinary bus. For what felt like an eternity, the bus sat there, shrouded in darkness and rain. Then, with a creak and a groan, the doors hissed open, releasing a gust of stale, musty air that smelled of decay and something else, something vaguely sweet and nauseating. A figure emerged from the darkness, silhouetted against the dim interior lights. It was tall and gaunt, its features obscured by the shadows. It moved with an unnatural grace, gliding across the pavement as if walking on air. I stumbled back, my heart pounding against my ribs. Who was this? What did it want? The figure paused, its head tilting slightly as if sensing my presence. Its face, if you could call it that, was a mask of decay. I wanted to scream, to run, but my legs felt rooted to the spot. The figure took a step toward me, and I saw it wasn't alone. More figures emerged from the bus, each one a grotesque mockery of life. Their eyes, hollow and empty, bored into me, filled with a hunger that chilled me to the bone. They moved slowly, deliberately, their movements jerky and unnatural. Their clothes, tattered and faded, hung on their skeletal frames like shrouds. Some were missing limbs, others had gaping wounds that oozed a viscous black fluid. I was trapped, surrounded by nightmares. My flashlight slipped from my grasp, clattering to the floor with a hollow thud. The darkness seemed to press in on me, suffocating me. The smell of decay intensified, filling my nostrils, choking me. Adrenaline surged through my veins, breaking the paralysis of fear. I scrambled to my feet, turning to flee, but the creatures were closing in. Their moans echoed in the cavernous space, a chorus of the damned. I dodged past the outstretched hand of the woman, her touch grazing my arm and leaving a trail of ice-cold fire in its wake. My foot caught on something, sending me sprawling to the hard floor. I scrambled back, scrambling for purchase, my heart hammering in my chest. Looking back, I saw them closing in, their eyes glowing with an unholy light. They were slow but relentless, their movements distorted, their moans growing louder with every step. I had to get out, had to escape this nightmare. I scrambled to my feet and ran blindly, desperately through the labyrinthine corridors of the bus station. I burst through the station doors and into the raging storm. Rain lashed at my face, blinding me, but I didn't slow down. I ran until my lungs burned and my legs screamed for mercy. The sounds of the station, the moans, the screeching faded into the distance, replaced by the roar of the wind and the pounding of my own blood in my ears. Finally, I collapsed, gasping for breath on the side of the road. The storm raged around me, but I felt strangely detached, as if watching the scene unfold from a distance. Had it all been real, or had my mind, pushed to its breaking point, conjured up the entire nightmare? The headlights of an approaching car cut through the darkness, blinding me. I shielded my eyes, my head spinning. The car screeched to a halt beside me, and a man, his face etched with concern, leaned out. "Are you all right?" he asked, his voice barely audible above the storm. The old bus station still stands, a decaying monument to a forgotten time. The storm has long since passed, but the memory of that night lingers, a shadow in the back of my mind. I never went back, never dared to test the limits of my sanity. The old man at the diner was right. Some places hold a darkness, a history that stains the very ground they stand on. The bus station is one such place, a place where the veil between reality and nightmare wears thin, where the past refuses to die. Now, years later, I still see those eyes sometimes, glowing in the darkness. I still hear the moans, the screeching of brakes, the hiss of the bus doors opening. And though I try to convince myself it was all a hallucination, a trick of the mind, a part of me knows better. Some doors, once opened, can never be closed again. The old bus station remains, a stark reminder of the night I came face to face with the unknown.